What's going on, everybody? It's the Bull Show, aka Aiden, and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be talking about a player that could potentially be an option for the Chicago Bulls in the offseason in free agency. Now, at the end of the day, there is a lot of discussions on this player. There's a lot of news around this player as well. I feel like it's the perfect time to talk about it because, you know, the momentum of having this guy being talked about constantly in terms of the offseason, it could be important, and it's a player that maybe the Chicago Bulls could use to make us a little bit better next season. So I guess we'll discuss the positives and the negatives behind this player and whether or not he would be a good addition to the Chicago Bulls. Before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Bull Show, turn notifications on, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls and whether or not you would like to add this player into the team. Now, I'm sure you've read the title, I'm sure you know exactly who I'm talking about. Today I want to talk about Dillon Brooks and what he could be for the Chicago Bulls team if it's an option for us down the line. Now, of course, there are positives, there are negatives to every player, and that's what we really need to dive into and discuss what it could potentially mean for our team. Essentially, we need some things that hopefully Dillon Brooks will be able to provide if he was to come here. But the big reason why I'm talking about this is because there are multiple now sources suggesting that Memphis, under no circumstance, will bring back Dillon Brooks to that team. And for Memphis, it's a positive and a negative. Obviously, you're losing a key defender there for the Memphis Grizzlies, but it's a positive in the sense of I think they need a fresh start in many ways. I'm not necessarily talking about a complete rebuild, but, you know, their team is filled around toxicity right now. There have been so many events that have been happening to the Memphis Grizzlies that has made them one of the most disliked teams in the NBA, and not for the right reasons. Not because they're good enough to beat anybody and talk smack while doing it. There are other things that are in place that makes Memphis extremely toxic sometimes, and they are not a very liked team in the NBA and the fan base and stuff like that. So maybe trying to get rid of some of that talk and some of that toxicity around them could be a fresh start for them. But I don't know why Memphis don't want him. Maybe its contract extension talks went south. I don't know. Maybe Dillon Brooks said something out of line and Memphis weren't going to tolerate it. I have no idea. But he won't be, if Memphis live up to their word, he will not be a Memphis Grizzly next season. So there'll be teams looking to sign his signature. I know there are a lot of memes about Dillon Brooks. You know, he's got to be ready to learn Chinese playing for the Shanghai Sharks. But let's be honest, he's going to be on an NBA team next season. I'm very close to guaranteeing it. Of course, unless he just says, I don't want to be in the NBA anymore. That's the only reason I would say he wouldn't be on an NBA team. I think an NBA team will find a way to secure his signature. So again, it's one of those things we're going to have to wait and see about. But we got to look at some of those positives. We got to look at some of those negatives. Looking at his statistics this season, playing 73 games for the Memphis Grizzlies, his average was 14.3 points per game, 3.3 rebounds per game, 2.6 assists per game, shooting 39.6% from the field and 32.6% from the three-point line. So I would say glaring positives and weaknesses to Dillon Brooks. But you have to put it in relation to what the Chicago Bulls are looking for. Again, we can go based on the basic elements that we need. We need size, we need rim protection, and we need shooting. We also need a point guard. So I think those are the key things that we probably need on this team. Does Dillon Brooks add size? Well, he's 6'7". Some say we might need a little bit more than that. You know, we might need a 6'8" or 6'9" type guy. But Dillon Brooks does add size to the team. You know, he's a forward. We need a little bit more forwards on this team. We need a little bit of that wing play for the Chicago Bulls team. I think Dillon Brooks provides that. A forward, 6'7", not too bad. Does add some size into this team, which is always helpful. Extremely helpful, I would say. Does he add, I guess, rim protection and steals and deflections and stuff like that? Well, he's a very good defender. This season for the Memphis Grizzlies, he does not average many blocks per game, only 0.2. And he averages around a steal per game of 0.9. So about a steal per game, about, you know, maybe half a block at best per game, something along those lines. He's not going to get massive blocks, so he won't provide rim protection, but he will provide solid defense, and he will be able to get steals and deflections on a team. Essentially, he's a good defender. Let's just put it that way. I think there's a reason why in almost every game that the Memphis Grizzlies plays, Dillon Brooks is usually on their best forward or one of their best players, and that's because he is a solid defender. I know, again, a lot of memes go around about Dillon Brooks, but he's able to bring it defensively in my eyes. Does he provide shooting? This season, not so much. 32% from the three-point line. You move into some of the other seasons that he's had around the NBA, He's had worse shooting seasons. The season prior, only 30% or 31% from the three-point line. But then he also had a couple of seasons with 37%, 35%, 34%. So again, I would say sporadic. And I think that's come to be the fact as well. In game-to-game basis, he's a sporadic shooter. He's a shooter when he's on fire, he can catch fire. He's also a shooter where, you know, you take 3 or 4 and it might not go down. He's going to have a dreadful night offensively. So, look, there are good things and bad things to Dillon Brooks. I guess the big question is now, looking at, he does add size, he does not add rim protection, and he does provide shooting inconsistently, but shooting, he does provide that. The question is now, would you take Dillon Brooks on the Chicago Bulls? Look, I think in terms of the player himself, I would absolutely love Dillon Brooks on this team. It could be on in a starting role. It could be off of the bench. I'm not too sure. Look, I'm assuming he'd want to start. He seems like the type of guy that's very prideful. So I would assume he would be asking for a starting role for the Chicago Bulls. Wouldn't necessarily guarantee that to him, but you just never know. But what I don't like about him is, again, I don't want toxic elements on this team. I don't want someone that's going to come in and affect the locker room in many ways. And he's done a lot of talking, and I think the big reason why Memphis let him go, or will be letting him go, is because I don't necessarily think he's a great locker room guy. The thing about Patrick Beverley, even though he's a big talker and he plays a tough game, I think you can see qualities of him being a locker room guy, which is why I like Patrick Beverley. Dillon Brooks, I'm not so sure about. Again, it's the outside looking in. I don't know how Dillon Brooks is around a locker room. I don't know how he is around impacting players, trying to get players to the best they can be. I don't know what he's like. Does he trash talk people behind the scenes? Is he going to be a toxic element in the locker room? Because that's the last thing that we need. We don't need toxicity in the locker room. You know, I advocate for small toxicity. I think Dillon Brooks brings a lot of it. So, you know, it is what it is in that regard. But Bulls fans, I know a lot of Bulls fans that love the talk. They love the trash talk. They love the gritty and grind type of player. Someone that's going to get down and dirty. Someone that's going to do the nitty gritty type of things. Someone that's going to get under people's skins. Bulls, I know some Bulls fans that love that. And there'll be some in the comments, I guarantee it, will probably saying the exact same thing. They love when people talk. They love, I guess, that toxicity factor. They love the players that will piss players off. And look, maybe that is, again, in small dosages, I think that can be something that could be helpful. But with Dillon Brooks, you don't get small dosages. He trash talks everybody at any given time, it looks like. He's pissed a lot of people around the league off as well. So I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see at the end of the day. But the player himself, I think, brings nice things to this team. I don't know how much we'll be able to pay him. I'll leave that to a different video if we're ever going to be rumored to him. But he provides solid defense. He'll be a guy that you could put on a good forward. He could be a guy that you could probably put on your best player. Defensively, it will work out. He's someone that is not going to be a ball hog. He's not going to be a guy that demands the ball. He's not going to be a guy that's going to, I guess, affect the flow of a game. You know, you can still go and pursue a point guard, and Dillon Brooks would be a nice addition. You can still have the ball in Zach LaVine's hands, or if DeMar's still here, DeMar DeRozan's hands, and Dillon Brooks will not affect the play. He will still be a corner guy. He will still be a guy that will be moving without the ball. That's what Dillon Brooks will be. So offensively, he doesn't necessarily impact or negatively impact things. Defensively, he will make us a little bit better. He is sporadic, so you got to be mindful of that. If you're looking for consistent three-point shooting, he will not provide that, in my opinion. And the stats will show that. But he's a nice addition. We'll have to wait and see, I guess, the price, which teams are interested, and whether or not he'd accept the bench role. If things go right for us, I can see Dillon Brooks here. And I can see people liking him once he is here. But as long as, you know, if he's demanding a starting role, I don't know if the Bulls are going to be willing to do that or not. Let's see what happens. I think he's good enough to start. I don't know if he will start. Well, again, time will tell. That's it for this video. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. Hopefully I did this video justice talking about Dillon Brooks. I tried to bring as much as possible. I also wanted to fit it to the Bulls' needs, because the Bulls' needs are very obvious. Three-point shooting, rim protection, size on the team. He fits some of those molds, and other molds he doesn't fit. So I think it'd be a nice addition. It should not be the only addition. I'll tell you that much. I'll tell you that for free. So yeah, let's wait and see what ends up happening. Have a wonderful and safe day. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay tuned for more. Take care, and peace.